than the other ones.
Amazing.
I know.
43. Here we go. Welcome.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we are.
Happy Friday. It is Friday.
Oh, it is
we're
Friday.
recording.
Yeah. And you know what I think is so funny is it's like most people Fridays are an easy day. And I don't know why I chose Friday to record with you. Cause I too am like, oh, it's easy day. Friday. And then I'm like, no, we need to get off, talk about something. We're going to talk about something. Good thing we're prepared, people.
That's right.
We're
right.
not winging it. That's for sure. Okay. So I'm in the North Carolinas. Shane's down south. Today we're going to talk about something as it relates to scale. Cause Shane, I mean, how many people have we talked to together have called us and asked us questions of, okay, so I've done this one thing, right? And I've made a lot of money from it. And in order for me to take it to the next step, I get but I got this other thing over here that if I just put the pedal down, man, I think I could triple my money with that.
Yeah. Yep. I'm thinking of one that I had a recent conversation with where they said that very thing. Like, hey, I got this, but I've got these two things. Now, these two things, they've got potential. Like that was kind of the
Yeah. And I know it seems logical that if we have something that is making money and it gets to the point where we have to take the next step to make more money. So it might be hiring a team or laying down automation. When it comes to the point of duplicating ourselves, oftentimes what I'm finding is that owners have spent the money they made and they're still at square one. They just got a lot more business, but they don't have enough manpower. Right. So now they're like, oh my gosh, I got to go find people, but I don't have the time because I don't have the money to step away from selling to go get the people, or I don't have the money to distribute myself through robotic automation. Right. So at some point, even if you go to this other offer, you're going to hit the same point on the mountain you're scaling, whether it's this one that's already made you money or this one that you believe will make you money. At some point you come to base camp and the truth of, oh man, we got to shed some weight. We got to get our lungs thicker. We got to put on some more layers. Like something else has to change to go to the next level. And this is where I find so many owners opt out of doing that slow down hard work and trade it for something that seems faster, but they hit the same plateau. Has that been your experience in dealing with leaders and owners?
Fallacy that you can scale by going wide, right? It's like, hey, okay, I got this one at this point. Going taller or going deeper with that one doesn't seem to be an option. So I'll tack on, right? So this fallacy of being able to scale wide, because eventually you get overextended to where now your revenue is capped, not just by potential because of external factors, but internal factors. You don't have so much time and energy. Like you can't up against the principles of scale, and they defeat you if you try to arbitrarily go wide. Yeah.
I mean, it really does not serve you over time.
Right.
And what, I was talking to an owner about this who had, written themselves $100,000 paycheck in the first year of being out on their own, but now they believe they're going to triple it by adding on an offer, not taking the thing that's proven to make money and doing what's necessary for it to make more money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
because they didn't execute the money management system that we talked about a few episodes ago. Like that is a real deal. Your money needs to be making money for you. And I don't mean like, portfolios and things like that. You can do that for sure, but you won't have any money to invest in portfolios if you don't manage it first.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. So it's really important. I am a big fan of Warren Buffett. I mean, who isn't? Like the guy's he's a little brilliant. But I loved this quote, Shane. He said, someone is sitting in the shade today because someone was willing to plant the tree a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're talking about here is at some point, if you're going to be an owner that has tomorrow money, you have to plant a tree today, and planting requires some slowing down. It doesn't mean that everything comes to a stop as we've been talking about, but it does require a slowing down and paying attention and doing something else that you haven't done before, you know? And truly, if we're going to create shade for ourselves for multiple, years past our prime working years, or if we're going to leave something of a legacy, whether that's financially or just with our pure example to the next generation, then we have got to understand that we have to have a thriving business. And a thriving business isn't like, oh, the phone is ringing and we just got more business than we know what to do with. No, a thriving business has 3 legs to it. The first one is you can predictably pay yourself. Like you can say, all right, I know how much money I'm going to make this month. At the top of the month, I can count on this amount of money. The second thing is an owner needs to have some time freedom to think, time freedom to step away, time freedom to slow down and evaluate the next level of scale. And finally, that people are saying, hey, my life, my family's life is completely different because of your business. Like those are the 3 things I have found contribute to a thriving business. Is there anything you'd add to that, Shane?
No, I think sometimes where we get stuck is we have an image of what we want it to be, and we don't realize that it requires those 3 things for us to be able to make it happen. The idea of, I want the time freedom. Well, to get the time freedom, you have to be able to pay yourself. Well, to be able to get the time to pay yourself, you have to be thinking on the business to be able to then make the pivots and adjustments so that it grows. Like the interconnection between those 3, I think is crucial.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've been guilty in the past of trying to throw a magic pill into that just makes it work. There's no magic pill. There's just no magic pill. No silver bullets.
No
silver bullets.
No,
it just requires hard work.
Yes. And there is a real myth. I'm just going to go as far as to say it is a lie to believe that passive income is the magic bullet. And that's what I find is plaguing more owners, especially with the internet. Like, well, maybe if I just create a course and set it and forget it. You don't create a course and set it and forget. I mean, this is one of the things that we help our clients do is we help them automate content so that they can help more people. But that content has to be attended to like a fine garment. You've got to always be improving it. I mean, passive income, as most people define it, is I don't want to have to work and I want to be able to travel when I want to for as long as I want to and have the same amount of money to come in. Honestly, I want more money coming in.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to sit and make the money come in. I just want it to come. And that's when you talk about it, it sounds ridiculous, but I mean, I truly had bought into this lie, and many owners do, and end up realizing, wow, it takes a lot more work than mailbox money. Mailbox money is not real unless you're part of the 1% who's somebody planted that tree.
Right.
And they're sitting in the shade today.
That's right.
That's where if you want that for future generations, then you need to be the person that plants the tree today.
That's a great way to say it.
Yep. And I mean, listen to what Webster's says about passive. The very definition of passive, Shane, is accepting or allowing what happens or what others do without active response and without resistance.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me like if we were to play darts together, you got the little dart board, and it's got all the little numbers and stuff like that. It's just me doing this and hoping I beat you.
Yep.
That's passive.
Yeah, that's right. You know what else it reminds me of is owners that rely on referrals.
I had a conversation with an owner recently who said, "Oh man, I've been relying on referrals and now it's all dried up. What do I do?" So yeah, this is a real thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the reality is that if in fact we are going to be active responders in our business, we cannot take most of the referrals that come to us, because that's ultimately accepting what someone else has said we are going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the very definition of passivity. So here, what is the solution then? The solution is that we have got to stop buying people's courses that promise that we are going to have some lane of passive income coming in. That is not the truth. Yep. Nobody can sell that promise. I mean, even if you were to open up an insurance agency, which I would say is probably the closest thing to passive income there is, it takes a decade at least to grow enough people to make the mailbox money worth it. So you could step away for a month and go to Europe.
That's right.
I mean,
it's the planting comes before the harvest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to plant in order to reap. There cannot, if you believe that you are going to scale without a season of planting or multiple seasons of planting, because business is cyclical, just like a vineyard. It is cyclical. Things die and things are reborn. You have to plant and you have to harvest. And both of those require a slowing down and looking at one part of the business longer than the other part of the business. But what a lot of people do is they don't attend to all the parts of the business at some point, and scale never happens. This, full disclosure, I mean, this is why I lost my first business, because I was like, oh no, I don't want to think about this and this and this over here that I'm not good at. I'm going to give that to someone out there that's good at it. And guess what? They couldn't make me successful either, because I hadn't set them up for success.
That's right.
Yeah. So ultimately, I know that you and I talk about this a lot, but the first thing we have to do is drive up our awareness, okay, which is another one of those neuroplasticity essentials. Awareness as it relates to our business looks like this. Make a list of all the things you hate doing, not the things that you love to do and the visions and dreams you have, but everything that you do for work that you hate doing, that you would never do again if someone gave you the option, right? And rather than dreaming about what you're going to get when you have so much money, or the vacations you're going to take, or what the family's going to look like, look at what is demotivating you. Is that, from a coaching perspective, is that a effective exercise, Shane?
So I would say it depends on what the purpose is, right? Like, so if you're wanting to find out what's demotivating you for the purpose of being able to close that gap some way, shape, or form, absolutely, right? Like to bring awareness to it, to say, okay, because here's what I'm coming from a coaching perspective. There are things that we don't like to do that have to be done.
Right.
And we need to differentiate between those things that must be done, that are required to happen, that if I don't have the resources, I gotta fill the gap myself until I get to the point in time where I can outsource it. So I do think, that exercise does have a legitimate purpose to it. I think if you stay there too long, you can go in some directions that are not healthy and not helpful. But who wants to be doing a lot of the stuff they don't want to do every day?
Well, and I think what happens, the reason for this exercise, I know how it helped me, was that I was selling Easy Street, but I didn't like it. I didn't like what I was selling, so I didn't want to do it for very long. And what happens is typically the hard things that we really want to do, or the things that we perceive take too long to actually do for someone else. So we put those away and we focus on the lowest hanging fruit, because it's giving us some immediate satisfaction, but it's not scalable. We don't enjoy doing it. And we're ultimately we're bartering our legacy with what is easy today. Right. And so I know for me, when I looked at everything I hated to do for work, I was like, that is everything I'm selling. Why am I doing that?
Yeah.
Well, because it was easy. It was easy work. It was easy to sell. But then when I got the work, I was like, oh, I don't want to do
I hate this.
I don't want to do this. And so my brain remembers it doesn't remember
Yep.
because the negative overweighs the positive. And so my point here with this exercise, and you tell me if there is something else they should attend to in the process, is you've got to write down all of the things you hate to do for work, and then look at your business model and how many of those things are in the business model. And the question is why? Why are you selling something that brings you so much dissatisfaction? Once you can answer that question, right, then you can say, okay, so what is it that I want to do? Now, what is it that I need to learn or do to make that thing monetize to help more people? Guess what is normally going to happen? You're going to have to slow down.
Yes.
Learn something new, process something you've been unwilling to process, go look for the talent you've been unwilling to look for because you can just do it all yourself with this low hanging fruit. But to get up here is going to require manpower and development and self-control and self-discipline. And that is really the bigger issue that we are up against as owners, is that lack of self-discipline. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Well said. Well said. Absolutely. I think it's what keeps us in that comfort zone where we just get comfortable hitting the lid of our potential. Like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. Because I'd rather be comfortable than be more effective, or I'd rather be comfortable than have greater impact. We settle for it. But until someone like you, Amy, brings that to our attention to where now we can consciously consider that choice, until then we're trapped by our subconscious habit. Just habit.
Yeah. So, well, and let's just real quickly, as we're closing here, a great case study in this is Howard Schultz, who Starbucks brought back in 2018. They were sinking the ship because in his letter to the company, this is what he said: we have gotten away from the core values, and cookie cutter store designs, automatic espresso machines, and bagged coffee is diluting our value in the marketplace. But they were selling it. I mean, they were making millions off of those three things. Okay. And so they said, we're going to stop doing that. Where does that confidence come from? Because early on in his leadership career, he had to look at things and say, that might look good today, but that's not the thing that's going to help us get to the great thing tomorrow. And once we begin to practice this in our everyday life, when we get to systems of technology like commanding an algorithm, it's easy to say, algorithm, stop sending this ad to that group of people, although I'm getting hundreds of opt-ins a day, because they're not the right people. They're not actually going to convert. So you might have a big old email list of 30,000 people and 45 people show up for your webinar. I mean, that's not cool. That's not exciting. That is so demoralizing. And it's a big old kick in the gut when you realize, oh my gosh, I got a dead list. I've paid for 30,000 emails and there's no life here. So we have to get to the confidence level of, this might look good, but this is not the best thing for us now. And that is why this exercise is so powerful, because we've got to at some point stop and start saying, no, this is not good for us in the long run. Might be good today, but it's not good in the long run.
Yeah. Well said.
And I believe, Shane, that when we do that we are now becoming more like people that can command technology, because as we talk about, systems run the business, but we, the people, run the systems. We have to tell the system to start and stop. It doesn't do that on its own.
That's right.
And so that's our job, is to know what to stop and what to start and when to do it and why. So I hope that this has been beneficial. Shane, I always appreciate the conversation. Thanks for jumping in here with me.
Right on. Pleasure to be here.
All right.
It's good.
Okay. Bye, guys.